Today we have a lot to talk about. Lots going on in the Sebastian Rogers case. Amazing. Great for that case. I've been wanting justice for that case for a long time now. But just seeing that this morning, I was pretty excited seeing that. So, yeah, just woke up, figured I'd do a live with you guys, and we got a lot to talk about anyways. So, seeing that just made it all that better. All that much better. But we also there's some more information in the Snyder's family case that has come out, and it looks like this may not be the only home that was left like this. And I say that because, well, there's more evidence that has come out to prove that. More witnesses have come out. More people are making statements from the Siders family past. And so we're going to talk about that today as well. They lived in about an hour away. I think it's pronounced Gallia County. I could be a little off with that pronunciation of that, but I think it's Gallia County, Ohio. And if so, that's about an hour away from where they were at, or from where Vinton County's at. So somebody came out on an interview with the news station, and they came out and stated that when they went to that old house in Gallia County, there was a bunch of clothes in the attic, and basically how this house was left, that house was left. I don't need to go into specific details, but you guys can use your imagination. Family case. If you haven't, well, this house was left in unexplainable conditions, and the one in Gallia County is being reported that it was left in the same type of conditions. So that's pretty shocking news. I didn't think we were going to get news like that this quickly, but that's pretty shocking. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today too. And there's actually some news involving the Nancy Guthrie situation. Now, not involving the alleged porch guy, and it's not alleged kidnappers, but something crazy did happen involving Al Roker and Craig Melvin. I don't know how you say his name, but he was going after Al Roker, right? And this is a crazy story, so we'll get into that too. But people are just joining in. What's going on, Benny? Nice to see you today. I hope you're doing good. Hope everyone just joining in is having a good day, enjoying in their day. We're going to talk a lot true crime today, from Sebastian Rogers to Nancy Guthrie to the Siders family. So we got a lot to discuss. But if you're just joining in, please like the video, sub up if you haven't yet, and we're going to discuss a lot of true crime today. I think we're about to hit 300 subs, so shout out to you guys. I appreciate that big time. But I think I want to start with the situation that happened with Al Roker. So an intruder broke in and was after Al Roker, allegedly, but he didn't get to him. He got to somebody else, and he got to him on the staircase. But I guess he was trying to break into the 30 Rockefeller in at the NBC studios where the Today Show is filmed. Anyways, he didn't get to them. Security got him, but this could have been really bad. And he was wearing a backpack, just to make it that much weirder, because everybody knows the Nancy Guthrie situation. The porch guy was wearing a backpack, and it's just that much more crazy. People shouldn't have to fear for their lives at their jobs, and it's just crazy, One more incident. Jillian said, "Hi, how are you, Zach?" What's going on, Jillian? I'm good. doing good this morning. Hope you're doing great too. Pause said, "Hi Zach. I hope you just went live. What are you talking about?" So we're going to be talking about a few cases today. I'm talking about what's going on in I'd say the Nancy Guthrie investigation, but really it's just what went on um, involving Al Roker. So somebody broke in to where they shoot the Today Show, and they were going after Al Roker. I think the guy's name's Craig Melvin, but it's weird when you have two first names. Like, I don't know if it's Melvin Craig or Craig Melvin. Anyways, he ended up going after that guy because he couldn't get to Al Roker. But then security was called and they ended up swarming this guy. They got him. He didn't hurt anybody, but everybody that does the Today Show is already, probably on edge, right? Because of everything that happened with Nancy Guthrie. But anyways, they get this guy, and nobody was hurt. But one key bit of information is he was wearing a backpack, and I correlate that with the porch guy from the Nancy Guthrie situation. However, it doesn't mean the two are connected, but how my brain works, I put connections when there is connections, right? I don't think coincidences just occur because I don't believe in them. But who's to say? Maybe this is just another crazy person that has nothing to do with the situation. But I'm just throwing out the possibilities here. However, that situation did actually happen. Somebody did try to break in. He was going after Al Roker. But there's no news involving the Nancy Guthrie situation relay for you guys right now. However, something big that's going on in true crime that I do want to talk to you guys about is what happened in the Sebastian Rogers situation. I'm sure you guys have heard it by now, but if you haven't, Seth Rogers sued the sheriff, I guess. He sued investigators. I'm pretty sure he sued DCS or DCF. I don't know how you say it out there. It's like different in every state. But anyways, he sued all of them, and in the documents, it's alleged that he thought DCS or DCF could have done something a lot sooner, and that Sebastian felt safest with his dad. It says that in the reports, and we all know this already. But if you don't, now you do. And it's actually very good to remind everybody about the Sebastian Rogers situation, because I feel like a lot of people, not everybody, but some people may not be looking Sebastian Rogers' case up every day, right? It's been 2 years. It's been a long time now. But here we are, and Seth Rogers is still making motion in this case, still making something happen in this case. Because if you don't do nothing, if you don't say anything, then nothing gets done. So props to him for doing what he's doing. It takes it's gonna take some time, and it's already been 2 years, right? So I'm sure he doesn't want this to drag out much longer, but I think a lot of people know the main suspects in this case with Sebastian Rogers, allegedly. And I should say right now that everything in this video is just alleged. Only my opinion, and everyone we discuss is innocent until proven guilty. But, these people, I should say their names, Katie and Chris, but Sebastian Rogers case, they seem very, very, I won't say guilty, but I'm going to say guilty. Allegedly. Excuse me. But what I will say is that's some big noise in this case. Let's see. Pause said, "It's odd. Right after I said in your live a couple days ago, no news on Sebastian, then all this news started coming out about court documents and Seth suing the sheriff's office." Yeah, I remember you saying that, actually. It is pretty crazy. I remember a couple months ago, I was saying I felt like the Sebastian Rogers case or the Summer Wells case out of Tennessee would get solved. Them would get solved this year. And then it kind of shifted towards Summer Wells or Nancy Guthrie, because then the Nancy Guthrie case is dragging out even longer than everyone expected. It's pretty crazy, honestly, that it's been this long in the Nancy Guthrie case, that it's been this long in Summer Wells, and that it's been this long in the Sebastian Rogers case. You know, cases shouldn't take this long for a suspect to be looked at and charged, at least. I get it when there's no trial for a year or two, when it gets pushed back, when things happen like that. But when there's not even a suspect, like, let's think about it. I mean, behind closed doors, they could have a suspect, but to the public, nobody's being looked at as a suspect, quote unquote. Even though in each one of these cases, people think that they know who's involved with them. Like, if I was to run down those three cases right now, when you look at the Nancy Guthrie case, most people are blaming Tommaso or Annie. You look at the Summer Wells case, most people are going to blame Candace and Dawn. Then you look at the Sebastian Rogers case, most people are going to blame Katie and Chris. And I'm not saying that that's right or wrong. I'm not saying that they're guilty or innocent till proven guilty. I will say that. But the public has a pretty good read on things. I will say that for the most part. Let's see. Pause said, yes, these cases are dragging out way too long. It's difficult keeping track of them with all the new cases that keep coming out. Yeah, and I think it is difficult for people to keep up because there's so many cases that get put out and get brought to the public, which, says a lot about society, sadly. So many things happening in society, and the news gets to cover a lot of the bad ones. A lot of the good things in society don't get brought to the forefront. But I guess with the internet nowadays, we have the power to look at the good, to look at the bad, and everything in between. So, back in the day when the news was just on TV, we just got fed whatever they wanted to put out to us, right? So shows you how powerful the media is, and it shows you how powerful even TV was back in the day. Excuse me. But yeah, so get back on track. I want to talk a little bit about the Siders family, because what I found out is absolutely crazy involving the Siders family. Now, I also found out that some of the Siders family children were enrolled in school. Now, I bet that is shocking. This happened. Okay, so apparently they had an old house back in Gallia County. I guess that's how you say it. Now, a news report came out, and somebody that either took part in cleaning the house out or renovating it, he was on a news report. It's on YouTube. I could link you guys the video in the description below if you'd like. But he was stating that old house was basically left in the same conditions as this house that we're looking at in the new video footage, in the new pictures and everything. Now, he literally explains it, basically how it was left. And it's not good, right? It's in the same conditions. And he says that all the kids' clothing was in the attic of that old house in Gallia County. And so that's not good, especially if they were all crammed in an attic. We don't know how many kids were living in that old house, but apparently there's school records of some of these children. Now, I don't know how many of these children were enrolled in school, but some of them were. That's the information that I've got at this time. And when 2021, 2022 comes around, then there's truancy that happens. And if my memory is correct, that's right around COVID, right? So 2021, it's hard to remember all this now, but I'm pretty sure that's at the either height of COVID or it's right when it was starting. So, then the truancy happens. So not everybody is checking on the kids, and that could be Child Protective Services faults, and maybe it's the school's fault. I don't know. Don't know who to blame in that situation. But what I can tell you is two things. Some of the children were enrolled in school at one point. And the second thing is that there was a house that was left in very deplorable conditions with the same type of excrement that was left in this house in Vinton County. And it's absolutely terrible. So, I would summarize it as there's a lot of problems going on in that household. Way more than just being poor, right? Because that's one thing, right? That happens, but to live in absolute filth is like, even if you're just, there should be in no way should you ever live like that. I can't even find the words to put together to make sense of it, really. But there's got to be some mental health going on, as well as much worse things. But yeah, it's hard to put the words together to even describe a situation like this. Jillian said, watched YouTube Streets video. I don't know what that is. Not sure what that is. Pause said, wow, so some of them were in school. Well, that's good to know. Not good that their other home was also in this awful condition. Yeah, those two things, finding that out, that some of them were in school, and then the house that they also were in was left like that. And it's only an hour away. So my thing is this: Child Protective Services could have found them with all the truancy that was going on, right? And law enforcement could have found them too. So why did it take till now, right? Why did it take 5 years to figure this out after the truancy happened? Or around 5 years. We'll call it 4 years, right? We'll give them a year of grace. But yeah, it's pretty ridiculous that it's taken this long. And then they were called to the Siders. Law enforcement was called to the Siders' home, not even for the fact that they had all these children living in these horrible conditions, but it was for Gary Siders Jr. So, I think Child Protective Services has some major fault here. Major fault. That's my opinion, though. That's just my opinion. Pause said, I can't wrap my head around what I saw in that home. It's really bad. Yeah. It's terrible. I saw the other video that was at night when the two people went in there, and man, it's crazy. The heat is still on. Like, there's a heater going in there. I don't think nobody needs that. Maybe the bugs need it, but I mean, come on now. It gives me the heebie-jeebies talking about it, really. But it's terrible. But I'll say this. Humans work in patterns a lot of the time. So the fact that we're finding out that there was another house that they lived like this in, and they had possibly crammed, I'm not going to say this for a fact because we don't know this, but possibly a lot of children were living in the attic of this old house in Gallia County. Now, the pattern here is living in human excrement and filth. Okay. Now, also, you got It looks like hoarding problems. It looks like just severe mental problems, right? I can't put it together, but that's all I can really say about this case right now. To summarize it, we got Gary Siders Sr., who went home on an ankle monitor, right? Well, actually, he went to a hospital. I don't know if he's home yet, but he fell down when he was going to go to court, and they found out that he has a serious health problem, because I don't know if it relates to the stroke he had, but anyways, it's a serious health problem. And so he went to the hospital, and if and when he gets released from that hospital, he'll get that ankle monitor on. So that's the update on him. Now, we got a lot going on in these other cases as well, but there's a little update on the Siders family case. I thought I'd bring it to you guys and let you guys know that the pattern is not good here. The pattern is not good here. So let's talk a little bit about another case. I've been looking at the Nolan Wells case, and I found out some good information. And I think you guys are going to like this information. If you guys have been following the Nolan Wells case, which I'm pretty sure most of you guys have been following it, especially if you've been following my channel. But anyways, the Nolan Wells case is going to a grand jury. So that's big news, guys. Very big news. Because they're going to have to see if there's enough evidence to indict somebody. And usually, I shouldn't say usually, but I'm going to say, I don't want to lean towards most likely either, but I'll say it like this. There's a good chance an indictment may happen. Now, when I say good chance, percentage-wise, you guys know I love throwing percentages out there, but I'm going to say higher than 50. So I'm not going to say, 75 or something like that, but I'm going to say there's a good chance, because since it's even being brought to grand jury, then that's some big news there too. So we got a lot going on in these cases right now. And I know you guys have been following the Nolan Wells case out of Mississippi. And there's a lot of people standing up for Nolan Wells on both sides, right? And when I say both sides, you guys know what I mean. They're trying to make it one thing when it's not, unless it is. But maybe it is. We'll have to see. Time will tell. Time will tell. As it always does. Right, guys? As it always does. But everything that happens usually has a reason, right? And in the Nolan Wells case, where Nolan Wells' body was found, I think can tell a lot. And I've been saying this since his body was found at this location, because it didn't make any sense to me why his body was found there and when it was found there. And I know they're going to bring this, when they bring this to grand jury, they're going to bring all this evidence, right? And I'm pretty sure it's the prosecutor who does. Now, I'm talking in all these legal terms, but I'm still learning things too. So if I get anything wrong here, my bad. But if I don't, which I'm trying to get everything right here, which I think I'm doing a pretty good job of. But there's a lot of legal things going on in the Nolan Wells case, for good reason too. If I had a son and he passed away in this manner, and his friends were being kind of strange about it, and his phone was found in an area that maybe it shouldn't have been, all these things start adding up. And as a parent, or parents in this case, they're doing their due diligence and they're doing the right thing for Nolan, when maybe his friends didn't. Because sometimes the people closest to you, can be sheeps in what? They can be sheep in wolf's clothing. No, a wolf in sheep's clothing. I'm just playing with you guys. But sometimes you guys get what I'm saying. Sometimes it's like that, right? The people closest to you, you know, they're not always the ones working for you. They can be working against you, right? Big time. Yeah, pause. I got to play around a little bit. It's 10:30, well, not even 10:30. It's still early. I'm looking at something was sent to me. Okay. I just got sent a new show. You guys know I love some good shows, but speaking of that, today is Friday. I know I'm going off topic, but I've been watching this show called The Chi, and every Friday it comes out with a new episode. And guess what, guys? Today is, I'm telling you guys, if you guys haven't checked out The Chi yet, definitely check it out. And you guys will be definitely captivated by it. That's for sure. But let me get back on the true crime stuff. Let me stop joking around telling you guys about shows. Let me get back to the Nolan Wells case, because I do have a lot to say about this case, especially in regards to how his friends were acting and have acted. It's like they band together, right? And I'm seeing this more so now than I was in the beginning. And one side of me, it's hard for me to believe that people could keep this thing a secret, right? That all this happened. Then the other side of me is like, okay, well, we've seen information slowly trickle out that has been false. And I'm wondering if that's these friends, the friend group, and the people that are kind of controlling the narrative behind that friend group, or the person that's controlling the narrative behind that friend group. We're starting to see the information trickle out that's not really, hasn't been truthful, right? And the more that I see that, the more I'm believing that the parents have done the right thing. And I thought that at the beginning, but I believe that more so now than I did in the beginning. Even though I did, in the beginning as well. But I'm anxious to see what's going to happen in this case. I know there's people rallying behind Nolan, and I'm glad, definitely glad. But we're seeing this happen more and more. Boating incidents where people go out drinking and then something happens, right? I know that this one included an island, but sometimes it doesn't include an island, right? Sometimes they go out, party on a boat. I think, oh man, I don't want to get her name wrong. Marley Kinney, is that her name? I could be butchering her name, but that just happened recently too. She was involved with an incident where they found her body, unfortunately, rest in peace, but these incidents are happening more and more often. So hopefully they don't continue to happen, but hopefully we get the right information to eventually charge the people that are involved in these situations and get some justice for them as well. Now, I know also people have been asking me, what's the update on Lynette Hooker? And at this time, there is no update. I don't have a concrete update to give you guys. I wish I did. However, I'm still looking every day, trying to figure out if any new information comes out in the Lynette Hooker case, in the Brian Hooker situation, where Brian Hooker gets indicted. So I will still be looking at that each and every day, trying to figure that out for you guys and for Lynette Hooker and everybody, that's behind her as well. Because we know something's fishy there. Something's definitely fishy there. And it ain't just the Bahamas situation. But I think the big news right now is the Sebastian Rogers case. That's the big news right now. So big news of the day is actually happened yesterday, but so I'm a little late to it. But if you guys haven't heard about it, it's news for you. So that's the biggest news of the day. Definitely glad that Seth did that. Stand behind him on that. I think that a lot of people. So I was actually thinking about this before I made the video. Well, before I did the live right now. But I was thinking, like, in the very beginning, when this when this whole thing occurred, when Sebastian went missing, it was allegedly, and I think this to be true, that allegedly it was one of the biggest searches in Tennessee history. Now, I wasn't there, right? But I'll take everyone's word for it that it was. So, in that sense, I think everyone did the right thing, of course, right? If it's one of the biggest searches, that's great. But then you fast forward a little bit of time, right? And you see how the investigation went and how everything played out after it. And that's why, that's why Seth is doing what he's doing, because of how everything was handled after the fact, not at the very beginning. Because at the very beginning, the spotlight's on, everybody's watching what everyone's doing. And then as time went on, people started handling things poorly. But then you realize, and then you read in the documents that CPS should have possibly intervened beforehand, before Sebastian went missing. And then when I started to figure that out, I'm like, oh no, I see why they were going so hard in the beginning trying to find him, right? Because maybe allegedly they messed some things up prior to Sebastian going missing. So in totality, when I think about these things, I analyze them. I see why certain things may have happened in the very beginning of the investigation. But then as it went on, when they didn't find Sebastian and then everything gets leaked to the public, people start to realize, oh no, something went wrong. Something went very wrong in the very beginning prior to Sebastian going missing. And, one thing that Sebastian said in the documents that's been documented is that he felt safest with, or safe or safest with, I know that's a big difference there, but I think it's been reported both ways, that Sebastian feels safest with his dad, Seth. And hearing that now and knowing that there could have been changes that could have been made back then, it's sad, because maybe Sebastian would still be here, and most likely Sebastian would still be here today if he was with Seth back then. That's the way I read it. I know many people may think differently, and that's good too. I like your opinions, even if they're different than mine. That doesn't matter, because we all are entitled to our opinions, and it keeps the conversation going. And at the end of the day, it's not about picking sides. It's about finding the person that's missing in these cases. In this case, Sebastian Rogers. So, justice for Sebastian Rogers. That's good. I haven't had that one. I thought it was the regular purple Gatorade, but it's icy charge. That's good. That's really good. Let's see. Pause said, so much is wrong with the Sebastian Rogers case. Come on, did Katie shut off their cameras? No footage from the night he went missing. Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. About how the footage, and because it's been so long, right? So much time has passed, but it's good that you brought that up, because it's good for people to be reminded that there should have been some footage out there. There just should have been, whether it's from their house itself or somebody else's. Something should have been caught on camera if Sebastian truly just went missing, if he truly just walked away, vanished out the night. And I still stand by those light videos. The ones where it looks like a flashlight comes on. I hold my hand up because it really looked like that. Like the light videos that I'm talking about is the ones, if you guys remember, because I know it's been a lot of time now. Some people might not remember, but it's like you see a light come on, then it goes, and then it meets somebody else, and then there's another light, and then boom, it goes back. And you guys will know what I'm talking about if you've seen those that video, or if you haven't, I pretty much explained it like it is. But when I saw that video, even back then, I was like, something's wrong with that. And it's easy to see, because that doesn't just happen in the middle of the night while somebody else goes missing. There's too many things to call it a coincidence. There's no way you can call it that. There's just no way. And that video going on at that time was, in my opinion, the transfer being made of Sebastian Rogers. But that's just my opinion here. It's not sadly, I don't think it was a happy ending for Sebastian. I still hope and pray that he's out there and that he's okay, but odds are not good. But justice, those odds, getting justice for Sebastian, those odds are much better. Especially now. Especially with Seth suing everyone. I think, I always say what's done in the dark comes to light, and it seems like it's starting to. 2+ years, though. Shouldn't take this long, but hey, I'm not the one that makes the decisions, right? Everything happens for a reason, and usually when it happens, timing is impeccable, right? So we're just going to have to see how it all unfolds. Let's see. Paul said, also, Katie works for a security company. Yeah, I was going to get to that too. I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, so Katie works for a security company, yet no camera working at their home. I do not believe he walked out in February with no shoes on. Too cold, no way. Yeah, no way. No shoes too. I'm glad you're bringing these things up, because this is information that needs to be brought up again and again for people to remember, like, that ain't right either. Or, I forgot about that, but that's not right too, And when these things get brought up, it's like one thing after another. But yeah, at the time, if I remember correctly, Katie did work for a security company. So she would be the type that would have security installed, right? I mean, it doesn't 2 and 2, 2 + 2 = 4, right? I don't have to be like, I mean, just that itself makes me think there should have been cameras, there should have been some security video footage. And if I can think that from my couch sitting here, everybody investigating that had to think that as well. And then you go to the next part of this, right? The next part of this is, there's no way somebody's walking out to go on a journey or to go on an adventure, whether it's 100 yards or 10 miles. Nobody's going to do it without shoes on. And so these things just aren't adding up, right? They aren't adding up, and it's one thing after another. So I'm glad Seth did what he did. I hope that it brings more attention to this case. I think he's hoping that this case, him doing this, suing everyone, I hope that he's thinking it's going to give this case a revamp. And I think he's thinking that too. I don't think he's in it for money or anything like that. Yes, maybe money comes with it. I don't know. I didn't see all the intricacies of this case, but I just think he's thinking, I want to find my son, right? Because he's always just said that. He's stuck with that, and he stood by that, and I believe him. I don't believe Katie and Chris at all. Never did, and I'm not going to. And at this point, I don't think there's anything they could do to make me believe them, except for them finding Sebastian or getting some type of clue that finds Sebastian. If they tried to help in a way that makes me think, then maybe then, okay, right? But until then, I don't believe anything Katie and Chris say. Nothing. Pause said, do we believe Christopher Proudfoot was out of town the night Sebastian went missing? I don't believe this. Good question. Good question there, Pause. If he was like not that far away to a point where he could come home and then help with the I call it the transfer of Sebastian. But most likely, I believe he was in the area or home. I don't believe he was hours away on the phone talking to Katie. That whole story, maybe they left the phones on, or maybe after the transfer was done, maybe he was on the phone with her. But yeah, I believe he was in the area that night. Definitely do. And it's funny because the things that I've said like 6 months ago are the same things I'm saying now when it comes to the Sebastian Rogers case. And most of the cases that I've talked about back then, I'm still saying the same things now, because once the truth comes out, it's going to be the same things that I've been stead on with, right? And that's just how it goes, right? Because I don't change, sway with the wind. I go with how I'm thinking at the time, and that's what I'm thinking now. But Paz said, let's see. Paz said, sadly, yes, he wasn't far. Sadly, in my opinion, Sebastian was carried out of the house. He didn't walk out barefoot in the snow. Yeah, I don't remember if there was snow. I don't know, but February, it would have been freezing no matter what at night. And even if it wasn't that cold, it still would have been cold, especially with somebody with no shoes on. And as we all know, heat travels through the body through your feet. So especially when you're on the ground, just basic stuff, right? So I believe also that Sebastian was basically, I don't know if you want to call it brought out the house or dragged, but whatever word you want to use, I think he was forcefully removed. How about that? He was forcefully removed from the house after the thud occurred. Let's not forget, guys. Let me bring this up to you guys too. Let's not forget about the infamous thud that Katie refers to, because a lot of people might have forgot about that, right? Let's not forget about that. Let's stay on target with all these things. After that thud happens, that's when I believe Sebastian gets dragged out of the house. So not only did something tragic happen, but then something even more tragic happened, in my opinion. Let's see. Pause said, I'm assuming snow. I looked up the temperature, but that was a while ago. Yeah, like I said, no matter what, it was cold, and somebody wouldn't just go out like that. Definitely not. Especially not unless they were trying to run away, right? And I've thought that too. I've thought of that possibility, but I just don't see that being the answer, right? Because you have to look at all possibilities, but I don't see that being the answer. Him just running away. I think he was forcefully removed. Sadly enough. All right. But anyways, guys, so let me think. I'm trying to think if there's any other case I want to talk about this morning with you guys. Glad you guys are here this morning, though, to talk some true crime with you and with me. But hearing, I guess we can discuss everything that happened with Al Roker a little bit, too, for the people that are just joining. But, somebody that was rushing in trying to attack him with a backpack on, after this. And, everything that happens is just leading me to believe it's like either this person was somebody that was trying to be like an impersonator and was trying to do damage on Al Roker, or it's just somebody that happened to have a backpack on that was absolutely crazy, that was trying to do damage against Al Roker, right? And the people around the Today Show are probably already on edge, right? So this happening, I was surprised to hear of this. Hopefully that guy gets punished to the full extent. I don't really know what happened after that. I just know that he was caught and nobody was hurt. Thank God. Thank God. But also, let's talk about Savannah Guthrie. Okay, let's talk about Savannah Guthrie for a little bit before I hop off here. So she is stepping away from the Today Show, I found out. And not because of Nancy Guthrie, not because of anything involving Nancy. That's what I'm hearing. But it's to now film the show Wordle. So she is now going to film the show Wordle. She is stepping away from the Today Show, and she will be doing that with, I guess, Jimmy Fallon. So that's her new project. That's what she's focusing on. So we will not be seeing her on the Today Show from now till that gets finished, or a little bit after that. So maybe she'll make appearances in between. I'm not sure. I'm sure she would make an appearance if and when Nancy is found, or if and when some bombshell news breaks in the Nancy Guthrie case. I'm sure she'll make an appearance then. Maybe it's not on the Today Show, but maybe it's on the news itself. But we'll have to see. So she's going to be filming that show. She's not stepping away from the spotlight entirely, but she's just working on a new project. Paz said, "Oh, really? I didn't know Savannah was stepping away from the Today Show." Yep. So she'll be working on that, keeping busy. And with it being so far, like, if it was a month or two into the investigation, I'd probably be like, oh, no, she shouldn't. But it's been so long now that, she's just trying to stay busy. And I get that at this point, right? Because it doesn't look like anything is going to break right now or within the next week or two. If it does, that's amazing. I hope it does. And I'm just like you guys on Nancy Guthrie and that investigation every single day, through many different avenues, right? And we all just want justice for Nancy Guthrie and for the Guthrie family. Pause. Oh, sorry, what show will she be doing? So it's called Wordle. Wordle. Yeah, Wordle. I'm sure it's going to premiere on the same network. And for streaming, I'm not sure. I'll have to look this up too. But yeah, it's going to be a new game show, I guess. So, I don't know if it's going to be just one of those cheesy game shows or if it's going to be a really interesting one. But they're bringing out the big guns. I shouldn't even say that, but they got Jimmy, they got Savannah. So we'll have to see what happens, right? Yeah, so we'll have to see what happens. But yeah, I wanted to let you guys know about that too. And I don't think I missed anything today. We talked a little bit about Nolan Wells too. Yeah, the Siders family, pretty interesting that they lived about an hour away, and it looks like they were living the same way they were living now. So I'll tell you one thing though, for the ones that remain locked up, they dang sure won't be living like that there. Their bunkie ain't gonna allow that if they have one. I'm just throwing a joke out there, guys. Talking about all this tragedy, sometimes you got to joke a little bit. So hopefully I can get you guys to laugh once in a while too. But I love you guys being here, and I appreciate you guys being here. And we'll see about a live later on. I'm not sure yet. I'm not going to promise one yet, but I'm glad I was able to go live this morning with you guys. So I'm gonna wrap this one up, and I'll talk to you guys later. But we'll see if anything breaks today, anything major, then I'll be back with you guys. But if nothing major breaks, then I'll probably save it for tomorrow. So as the saying goes, without you guys, there'd be no me. I love you guys. It's Zach. Peace.